And it is time for our usual 7:35. He's a minute late because I held him after class, but I held the teacher after class. But he is the chairman of the County Board of Legislators here in Westchester County. And just yesterday, his folks put out a press release that says, and I quote, Democratic legislators are questioning why the Astorino administration's budget errors, these are their words, target children and working parents. Please welcome, without further ado, the chair of the County Board of Legislators, Ken Jenkins. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bob, and good morning, Westchester.
I like the way you do that. Good morning, Westchester. Help sell the program. I need that. Well, I'm looking at the press release dated, I guess, the 18th. Yesterday, 2 days ago. And those are pretty harsh words you're throwing out there towards Mr. Astorino. Why so?
Well, because of the facts around this particular matter, if there is indeed a budget error in the child care subsidy, which is not as far as the numbers that we are concerned, the numbers that we have. But let's suggest that there are for a minute. The $30 million budget error made by the Astorino administration by failing to budget for planned activities that the department has asked for. The department has asked for money to project for their department for route salaries, and the Astorino administration cut it out, failed to show that information to the Board of Legislators. We had to subpoena for the information and get it finally through a Freedom of Information Act, which is completely ridiculous, of $30 million. They tell us we'll make up that $30 million at the end of the year.
Just a second, if I may, I want to be sure I understand something. The county board, the legislative body, I just want to be sure that I'm right, had to get a Freedom of Information request to get information from the executive branch?
Completely and totally ridiculous, and that's exactly where the issue is right now between the legislature as a body and the administration. They fail to provide accurate information. Then when we don't get the information, we ask for it. Just give it to us directly. We'll figure it out ourselves. We got pretty smart people out of legislators and good staff to be able to analyze that information. And we had to get it through a Freedom of Information Act that was done by a media outlet for data that there's no secrets for the Board of Legislators. We're the governing body. We make up the budget, et cetera. But in this case, the Astorino administration clearly misled the legislature and did not include $30 million worth of activity. So now they're short. And they said, we'll figure that out at the end of the year when we go through our analysis of our finances, and we'll just move things around. But for child care, we need to do something today. We need to end programs today. We need to increase fees, which is another word for a tax increase, on those middle-class families that have children in child care. And then we found that out the same week that we had another media report that said Westchester child care is the most unaffordable in the country, right? We got to be able to focus on making sure that people can get back and forth to work, that we have our families and our children supported. And this is why we're really harsh on this particular angle. You know, we got to be consistent. Either we got to find $1.5 million of savings to be able to have the child care program, although the department's going to be $9 million in surplus. We got to find that in that one line, which is ridiculous as well. But for $30 million on a mistake that they made, that they admitted making.
No, is that, but if I may, and I just want to remind folks, 740, we're talking with the chairman of the County Board of Legislators, Ken Jenkins. We're talking about a $30 million, 29.7 to be exact, a $30 million deficit or a hickey in the budget. Now, was it a math error, or was money spent that wasn't supposed to be spent, or do you suspect it was deliberately held from these services? What are you surmising at this point?
We're not surmising anything. The budget director stated on the record that it kept him up late at night, knowing that they did not project, but they did not budget for salary increases in the department that the department heads, the professionals, asked for. It's compounded by those professionals obviously sitting at the end of the table.
Now, if I may, a guy with my own background, I used to do these kinds of budgets on both ends. Now, the department head either gets, you know, the way it works, at least the way it worked in corporate America, if I as a department had budgeted increases and they were approved, they were approved. So it seems to me that either the department head or the budget director has to be misinformed, or someone's misleading somebody.
Well, no, that's not how it works. The budget department requests that information from the various departments. They have to give it in by June.
Right, but don't they have to approve it? In other words, if I were a department head, do I know if they approve that or not, or do I sit back in the blind not knowing?
No, they find out when the budget comes out, and basically if the budget director makes a recommendation, the county executive makes a recommendation to the board. So the board, by law, which is another violation, should see the department request as well as the county executive's allowed amount. And that is what we did not see. That's what we had.
Okay, so you did not see it. So that means then that the department head didn't see it either. If he did, he kept it from the board as well.
That's exactly the point, that those professionals whose job, by the way, it hangs in the balance, they're not allowed to talk to the board as well. That information is that they did not tell the board. They also continued the misleading. So the budget director said to us that it kept him up nights knowing that $30 million was not budgeted.
Wow. Well,
That's
I guess
completely ridiculous, and people should be losing their jobs because of it.
I guess that being on the board right now is like being in the 47%, huh?
Well, something the more ridiculous part of that is that's exactly what it's talking about, is attacking that 47% that says those folks receive services and therefore should be mistreated or not informed. We make budget decisions based on careful analysis of the data that's presented to us. If it's going to be skewed, if we're going to be lied to, if department heads are not going to be able to stand up because they think they're going to lose their job, like Commissioner Shu lost his job and other people lost their jobs in that kind of terrorist activity kind of mentality that we have as far as administration is concerned, and intimidation and threatening of professionals who know how to do their job. Again, political things aside, we cannot continue to have a scenario where we have individuals that cannot be professionals and just tell the truth. We all can handle the truth. And we know we need to make budget choices, and we do that. But once we have that information, we can make smart budget choices, not silly ones.
Mr. Chairman, you ruined a great line. I was going to do my best Jack Nicholson and say, you can't handle the truth. 7:44. Do you have any announcements you want to make before you go?
No, the Board of Legislators meeting is Monday, and we hope people participate, just as Superintendent just said in New Rochelle, that people have to participate in the process. Our meetings are all streamed, all online. You don't have to get out your jammies to watch it. They can do that and still pay attention to Good Morning Westchester with you, Bob.
Thank you very much. The chairman of the County Board of Legislators here in Westchester County, Ken Jenkins, thank you very much.